I mean, what you take out of it is the fact that this is not the NCAA tournament. It's the first team to 4 wins. And we have an opportunity to go home and play great basketball and home serve. Until the team beats you 4 times, then you always have an opportunity to come out of it. So that's the confidence that we should have. And I know it's going to be a tough hill to climb up, but we still have an opportunity to, play good basketball and play the best basketball of the series in Game 3.
Yeah, the outside noise is the outside noise. We're the Denver Nuggets. We're used to that. We used to, even when we win, they talk about the other team. We beat the Clippers in the bubble. They talk about the other team. Same old. It just fuels us a little more, and it'll be sweeter when we win the chip.
You win Game 1 of the playoffs, and all everybody talked about was the Lakers. Let's be honest. That was a national narrative was, hey, the Lakers are fine. They're down 1-0, but they figured something out. No one talked about Nikola just had a historic performance. He's got 13 triple-doubles now, 3rd all-time. What he's doing is just incredible, but the narrative wasn't about the Nuggets. The narrative wasn't about Nikola. The narrative is about the Lakers and their adjustments. So, you put that in your pipe, you smoke it, and you come back, and you know what? We're going to go up 2-0.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Mike Malone, he's real. That's a G right there. I love that.
Yes, those were bars. And I'm here today with Keita. Welcome. Let's get into it because I know you have bars to drop. Man, last night.
This game was so much fun.
It was special, right? I was like, oh, the Lakers are going to pull it off, but the Nuggets keep hanging around. And look, I was definitely someone who was on Twitter, because everyone's tweeting in the first half, what's going on with Jamal Murray? What is he doing? Right. There's a large focus on him. And I'm just like, man, come on, he's shooting him out the game. What is he doing? And then Jamal Murray just went crazy in the fourth quarter. But listen, like I said, I love what Mike Malone had to say. And he's accurate. And he is correct. I do think that was the media narrative. And, we haven't been doing that. Maybe he's not counting VFA as the national media.
Y'all been doing your jobs. You've been doing your jobs. That's right.
But we have, and particularly because, Michael Holley and Michael Smith are both really big fans of Jokic, but just in general, we've, in the last few days, done nothing but talk about, the Denver Nuggets and what they've been doing. And, it's been incredible to watch, and they have been underrated. And there was a lot of talk about, Denver figured something, not Denver, the
Lakers.
The Lakers. Yes, there you go. The Lakers figured something out, and I was just like, okay, but whatever. They won, so they got the W. The same way the Lakers figured something out, the Nuggets can go and look at tape and make their own adjustments. So I like this spiciness from the Nuggets and their coach. I like that they are just being defiant. I like it, and some people didn't like what Jamal Murray had to say. Some thought it's poking the bear. I'm so tired of hearing that. Zena, you're a former player, so tell me, when you're a player, do you operate like that in terms of, oh, don't poke the bear, don't say anything, or are you confident in what you do?
It depends. I would say that there's difference between ballers with hard ER or ballers. And I think that when you're a baller, you play ball and it means that you're competitive. And you've got players like a Jamal Murray, who's incredibly competitive, who has said in the media before that they have ignored him, that they have wrote him off as, a specialist or maybe just a playoff player, right? And obviously trying to come back from his injury. He had a lot to prove, but he's a baller. He's someone that is cutthroat. He is someone that will be aggressive. And I've never seen anyone do such a great job of adjusting. It's funny, I was just seeing that Taylor Rooks retweeted an interview that she did with him a year or so ago, where he talked about halftime adjustments. And we literally saw Jamal Murray adjust his shooting slump in game, right? We're talking about trying to ask players to fix their shooting slump over the course of a series. He did that in game. And 23 points in the fourth quarter was unreal. And, speaking of poking the bear, no, he is not worried about that. And that's what Mike Malone was talking about. Focus on what you can do. Focus on what you can contribute, right? You're not just a scorer. Think about how your defense can contribute to your ability to score. Think about how your intensity on the court in general on both sides can contribute. And so ain't nobody worried about poking the bear. They're trying to win a championship. They're trying to win a conference finals for the first time and get to the finals. And so I appreciate that. Let's go, Jamal Murray. Show him what you're made of, because a lot of people did sleep on him.
Yeah, and Murray and Jokic are great in their own right. Like, I get it. It's LeBron James on the other side of the court and Anthony Davis, both champions. And I think what Anthony Davis, in addition to LeBron, they're top 75 players, right? But of all time. But Jokic is a 2-time MVP, right? And Jamal Murray, his career, it was like interrupted because of injury.
Right.
And
I was just going to say,
like bubble Jamal, but it's not a bubble Jamal. Like, he is putting on, and what he did.
Correct.
What he did in the fourth quarter, and let's not just like ignore Jokic, but the two of them as a duo, they're pretty amazing, right? Like, they're amazing what they're doing. And I would say right now they're outplaying the duo of LeBron and Anthony Davis. And I think that we got to call that out, right? Like, Jokic is the best player in this series and has been performing like the best player in this series. And even though you look at last night and think it was a quiet night for him, he still had like a triple-double.
I know.
Moved up to third in the all-time list. And so he's been incredible. And you just got to give both Jokic and Jamal credit.
1000%. And that's what is so powerful about the Denver Nuggets, is that they just have so many options and they all are playing within themselves, right? They're not trying to force shots and they're not trying to do things that aren't characteristic to their game, because they're so stacked across their roster, and particularly around their starting five. They don't have to do too much, right? Jamal Murray can get hot and he can go off the way he did, while Nikola Jokic literally just has a very quiet, efficient triple-double, and he can count on that, and they can count on that. And that's what makes them so dominant and hard to beat, is because you can count on that more so than you can count on the AD and LeBron duo going off for what, I just still find it fascinating. AD had 1 3 last night. That's one more than LeBron James had, right? Like that's not what you can expect out of the Lakers. But it's funny thinking about putting respect on, the Denver Nuggets. Reminds me of a team we like very much, that we're, a little bit privy to in their history. And so I want to throw it back on you, like seeing what's going on with the Denver Nuggets and thinking about any team that's on the rise to build a dynasty, right? The Warriors, that's the team we're talking about, folks, in case you weren't sure. But thinking about where the Warriors were and how they were treated with the media, with their big three coming up and being solid. I mean, I would say it was a very similar storyline.
Yeah, no, it is. And, there's like an interesting narrative right now with the Nuggets in terms of like them finally arriving and we're all giving them their credit, and, they're still underrated. And I actually earlier this week when I hosted with Michael Holley, I had a feed item that said like they might still be a little underrated, but I pushed back a little bit at this idea. Like, I don't think the hesitance is all based in people not acknowledging that Jokic and Jamal Murray are great players. I don't think that's what it's about. But
sure,
we have a tendency as people to not want to crown people, players, teams before they've actually accomplished, whatever goal it is that we think they're supposed to accomplish. And so I understand what the Denver Nuggets fans are feeling, because aside from the fact that they're in Denver and it's not like a major market and they already don't get as much attention, like the Warriors did go through something similar in that they were often doubted. They were often, like, oh, jump shooting team, they're like, they can't go all the way. And then even after they won their first championship, they were doubted. And we used to take offense to that as fans. So I get it. So I get like, the defensiveness, but I don't think it's all just like disrespect, like we don't believe in the team. You got to show me, I got to see it. And so I push back at that narrative a little bit.
Yeah, I think in sports, people, they don't like flukes, right? They don't like people that kind of, you just show up at the right time, but you can't make it all the way through. And that's been the narrative, right? That the Denver Nuggets are stacked. They've got all of this talent, yet they cannot find their way to the Western Conference Final. So I agree with you. I think that there's more so disrespect or a misacknowledgement of the talent on that roster, but it's more so prove yourself, right? You got to put some numbers up, and we'll see what happens. But it's been fun to watch. This series has been back and forth. At first, I was like, the referees were very involved in both games. We won't get into that conversation, but I was concerned it would be entertaining. And game 1 and game 2 were both incredibly entertaining. And if you're the Western Conference Final, like a fan thinking, oh, the Warriors, the Lakers, that was a lot of fun. But the Kings and the Warriors are probably the most fun so far in the West. There was a little bit of, is there going to be a lag? It's been entertaining. And I'm really, really excited now to see them go back to LA, because you can't depend on LeBron playing the way he did last night, which wasn't terrible, but it wasn't LeBron. He made some questionable shots. He missed 6 points at the basket, 2 in the first quarter, and then that last layup in the fourth. They lost by 5. So Denver has figured it out in the sense of they're solid. They've got the team to rally when they need to get the points on the board, to get the lead. But it's not a clear-cut win, right? You could easily say that this series could have been 1-1, but we can't live in the coulda, woulda, shouldas. So we'll see what happens when they get back to LA, but it has been really entertaining.
It has. And, Mike Malone made some comments that I found interesting last night, because he talked about Jamal Murray sort of figuring it out during the game, and basically referring to the fact that there are no specialists in the NBA. And so he had to figure out other ways to impact the game. Let's hear what Mike Malone had to say.
Michael, for all the talk about Jamal's offense, he had 4 steals tonight, and I think the last one was a lob that he batted
Big
away.
play, yeah.
Leads to the Michael Porter Jr. 3 that puts you up 12. How impressive is it to you that even when he's off to a slow start offensively, that he still appears to be engaged on the defensive end?
Well, he was one of our defensive players of the game, to your point, Vinny. 10 boards. He had 13 contested shots tonight. He had 4 steals. But that's what you have to do. Like, there are going to be nights or quarters for Jamal. It could be a quarter, it could be a half, it could be 3 quarters where your shot's not going. But in the playoffs, you can't be a specialist. Specialists don't play in the playoffs. You got to find a way to impact the game. And he did that tonight.
He definitely did that. And who do we have here? Our friend Dave DuFour from The Athletic. I got 2 athletic folks with me. I'm so excited. So Dave, as this series shifts to LA, like both teams are figuring out what they can do, but you heard what Mike Malone just had to say. Do you think Jamal Murray can take what he did in the game last night? And I don't mean like, okay, he didn't get hot till the 4th, but just impacting the game no matter what happens, and rebounding and doing what he has to do defensively to help this team and bottle that up and bring it to LA.
I mean, I think so, because it was an effort issue. Game 1, they got a big lead. I felt like they took their foot off the gas a little bit. They were giving up that switch for LeBron to get onto Jamal Murray just too easily. It was just there was no resistance whatsoever. And then Jamal didn't really put up much of a fight. Let him go to the basket. Looked like he was just trying to stay on the court, stay out of foul trouble. And then in game 2, especially in the second half, I thought when that switch happened, he did a better job of forcing LeBron to at least work. LeBron hit some tough shots over Jamal Murray, but he's supposed to. That's a mismatch. And the idea is Jamal just can't make it easy for him. Don't let him waltz to the basket. Hold him up so the help can come over. And I thought he did a better job of that. And then, of course, had 4 steals, so made some bigger plays. But they need him to just get going offensively earlier. I mean, that game 2 was way closer than it should have been because he was awful until the 4th. He closed it out, but they need him throughout the game.
Yeah, and like Zena earlier,
1000%.
I'm not sure if you heard her, but she was referring to like mistakes that LeBron made last night. And just in general, wasn't a great game from Anthony Davis or LeBron James. Pretty uncharacteristic for LeBron. But, you know, I thought some of it was the legs, you know, age catching up to them. You know, they're playing like really long minutes. You know, everyone, I mean, Jokic, everyone looked tired on the court, not just like Anthony Davis and LeBron James, but they were uncharacteristic. So Anthony Davis and LeBron James they didn't play that well yesterday. So what are you expecting as the series shifts back, what we will see from that duo?
Well, energy expenditure is something that you have to watch all the time with LeBron James and Anthony Davis in particular. I mean, Anthony Davis put up 40 and was absolutely all over the place in game one. Game two, he was dead. I think everybody expected that. That up and down thing, you know, no matter what people try to tell you on the internet, that's been true. If you go and watch these games, it's about effort. It's how much he can bring with only one day off in between games. It's not a knock on him as a player. It's just like his body just can't handle this. He needs more rest. And with LeBron, I actually thought defensively he was pretty good for most of the game, including in pick and roll coverage at the point of attack. I thought his hands were very active, but he's just got to stop taking these awful threes in the fourth quarter, especially. I mean, you know, in game one, he blew an opportunity to get the game closer. I thought he had Jamal Murray. He'd been scoring on him at will, didn't attack, didn't try to get to the line even. And I think that was a mistake. And then, of course, game three kind of shot him out of it a little bit because he just can't shoot threes. He's not a good three-point shooter, and especially late in games. Yeah. He's old. The legs are gone. You're at elevation. Play some basketball. Don't just jack up those shots.
Yeah, LeBron is so good for the bully ball. So I'm wondering why he's not literally just going for that.
I mean,
against the Nuggets, towards the end, we're talking about. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he took some plays off. Like there was that particular. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
To the bully ball point, I mean, he can't physically do it every single time. I mean, it's just, there is a point of diminishing returns with the bully ball. But I do think that end of games in particular, if you've watched what's happened, he probably should start thinking about allowing Austin Reeves to initiate the offense. I thought bringing LeBron as a screener for Austin Reeves really worked well for them, even involving Anthony Davis and some Austin Reeves pick and roll, and allowing LeBron to be like a secondary sort of creator on the side so that he can save his legs up for those last possessions. The bully ball, he can't do it every possession. This isn't 2015. This isn't, 30-year-old LeBron James. So they've got to figure this out. And I think one of the big moves they've got to figure out is who's going to be that other guard next to Austin Reeves. Is D'Lo going to be your guy because you hope he pops on offense and you just live with the defense? Or is it going to be Dennis Schroeder and you say, hey, Austin Reeves has got to create even more for us now? I think that's a bigger question.
Do you think the Nuggets do you think they can steal a game? I mean, we know that they have the ability to win on the road. They did it versus the Suns in the last series, but they did have a 2-0 lead in that series, went on the road. Their role players didn't play that great, which you expect sometimes when you go to the road. But then they came back and won the game 6 on the road. But DeAndre Ayton was out that night, and Kevin Durant and Book may have been a little bit out of gas. And they also had a great defensive plan for Kevin Durant. But in this series with the Lakers, in crypto, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, their role players have been showing, outside of D'Angelo Russell to this point, that someone will step up, whether it's Rui, whether it's Austin Reeves. So do you think they can come back and get back in this series, or do you think Denver can go in there and maybe steal one of these game 3s or game 4s?
I think just about everybody expects the Lakers to come out strong and probably win game 3. I mean, the math checks out when you look at playoff series in the conference finals. I think game 3 is won by the home team the majority of the time if they're down 0-2. So I expect in game 3 the Lakers to get that win. But I think the Nuggets are just playing better basketball right now. Nikola Jokic has been the best player in the world for years now, but especially in this series. And I think he can lead them to a road win, and they only need to win one. They win one on the road, and that series is over. You know, they go back to Denver down 3-1, and that's a wrap for the Lakers. I just don't see them being able to dig out of that hole. And when you think about Anthony Davis, he's going to have a big game 3. You know that. How big of a game 3? You know, do you want him to put up 40 again, knowing that he's not going to be able to come back in game 4 and match that effort? So I think that the Lakers have some serious questions they've got to consider, but their defense is amazing. I mean, this is a really good basketball team. And I know that, you know, you guys in particular probably don't love the Lakers because you're Warriors fans, but truth is, this is a really good basketball team. They play really good defense. Biggest thing is they've got good vibes. They stay together. So when things get hard, they stay in the game. And that's how they've been in the last 2 games. And so when you have a team like that, you've got Anthony Davis, who at any time can be the best player on the court. You have LeBron James and all of that built-in experience, that playoff know-how and toughness that he has. And you've got good role players playing at home. I mean, they could very easily tie this up and win games 3 and 4 and take it back to Denver and make this a 3-game series. So, I mean, it's one of the beauties of this conference finals is that on both sides, it's pretty close. I mean, the parity is fantastic, and we're getting amazing playoff games. Even the ones that feel like blowouts, there's something there that at least makes you think, oh, the next game is going to be pretty close.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we let you go, I just want to know, because I don't know if you had an official prediction for this series, but do you?
Well, I had Nuggets in 6 to come in. Okay. I mean, they've been the best team all year. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world, should have won his 3rd straight MVP. And they have continuity that the Lakers just don't have. Mm-hmm. You know, when it gets tight, they have pet plays to go to that aren't just one guy making it happen. It's 5 people working together. I mean, basketball is that communist sport. When everybody's sharing the ball and kind of playing their role, you can find great success. And not to say that the Lakers aren't. I just don't think the Lakers have had the time to build the sort of chemistry that the Nuggets have, and they get to rely on that in crunch time. So I still think Nuggets can do this in 6. They could even do it in 5. I mean, if they win one of these 2 games in LA, I could see them closing it out at home.
I think that's the one point I'll say. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
No, go ahead.
No, the one point I'll say about the parity is that level of continuity. Even though that the Lakers are playing really well, I feel like this is an elevated Lakers team as opposed to the Nuggets are playing who they've been all season. So that's the only difference I'd say.
Zena, like I said, I knew she'd bring bras to close us out. Dave, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Come back and join us, please.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thanks, Dave.
BG is back. What I love about having BG back on the floor is that basketball is her safe space. Growing up in Houston, Texas, together alongside my sister, we've followed her careers closely. We've supported each other. And just to have her back, it just means the world to us.
Welcome back, BG. One part of BG's game that I wish I had was definitely her capability to dunk at any point in time.
Welcome back, BG.
What I'm most looking forward to about having BG back on the floor is her dominance in the paint and making everybody else rise up their level of play. We definitely missed her.
Welcome back, BG.
There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't think about her and pray for her and just her mental health and her well-being. So to see her back on the court right now and just to be able to physically see her is gonna be, I don't think words will describe the feeling, but I'm looking forward most to just giving her a nice hug. BG is back.
That's right, baby. BG is back. So is the W. If you don't have gear yet, go get it, y'all. Go support. I mean, let's talk about the classiness of the Sparks are going up against the Mercury tonight. And they took the time in their media day to welcome BG back, their opponent, but also their sister. And that classiness just speaks to the level of the league, but also really gives you the vibe going into this season of just how excited everyone is to be back. There's this electricity around the season, around the W, around the women, around the storylines. Oh, so many storylines. And of course, BG coming back is the biggest. Everyone has been so touched and moved by how poised she's been coming back, how grateful she is to be supported. The Athletic actually just did a story, Chantel Jennings, about the letters that people wrote to her while she was in detainment in Russia and how that kept her going. And you see how her teammates all last season. It wasn't just decals on the courts. It wasn't just decals on their jerseys. It was constant free BG till it's backwards, okay? I mean, there was constant reminders to the president, to the vice president, do whatever you can for our sister, not for our teammate, not for another player in this league, for our sister. And so I'm so excited for BG to come back. This is, as I think it was Neka that mentioned, this is her safe space. And so it's gonna be so dope to have that be a big part of this season.
Yeah, concur. I mean, there's not much more that I can add to this, but I think it's probably going to be incredibly emotional. So I'm already tearing up just thinking about it.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy what people seeing her getting back to who she was before. And then also the visual representation of her dreads being gone, right? So it's like we're gonna see the new BG coming back, but we'll remember like what happened and what this means for her. And yeah, it's an emotional return. I don't know if there's many. I'm not sure of how many moments like this in sports you get to see because it is such a unique situation.
This is I mean, there's nothing to describe it. So I can't even imagine, like I said, how emotional it's going to be tonight, but I'm just so happy for her return and looking forward to it. That is going to be the late game tonight at 11 p.m. But there are 3 other games coming on tonight. Which one are you to the most? Which game do you want to?
I would say the Liberty and Mystics. And the reason why is because another one of the big headlines within the W is about these new super teams, right? So New York Liberty in the offseason acquired Jonquel Jones from the Connecticut Sun, as well as Courtney Vandersloot from the Chicago Sky, and already obviously had Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart from the Storm. So they stacked all the way up in New York. But the Mystics are stacked themselves. They've got some legitimate veterans on that team too that I think could be a dark horse. And a lot of people are saying this on Twitter, that they could be a dark horse to win the title or go far at least in the quest for that. So I'm excited to see the hype around the Liberty. How do they actually mesh? How do they actually, show up on this stage together? How has the very short off season that they get and get the time to play together in training camp, how has that come together to meld? So yeah, that's probably my signature game for tonight outside of seeing BG. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely BG just because of the return she's making and it's going to be so great. Like, there's no other game that can like excite me more. But, you mentioned like the Liberty and the Mystics, and the Liberty, one of the big storylines around them is that they are a super team, one of 2 super teams that we have for this season. So I just think it's cool that the W has super teams now. Maybe because I am a fan of a team that people once considered a super team, but in the Warriors, but you have Candace Parker, with the Aces, and then you have the Liberty with their newly formed team with Brianna Stewart going there, and it's just going to be incredible. And I mean, the only thing that's a little weird is that like these 2 super teams are such a huge storyline of the NBA, and yet one of them has some news surrounding it that sort of say overshadows the season, but maybe overshadows.
It's a cloud.
Yeah,
it's a cloud. It's a dark cloud over it. You saw the WNBPA mention that they're not satisfied with the ruling that came out. And just to catch everyone up, Dearica Hamby, former Aces player, 6th Woman of the Year, and part of the championship team that won last year, became pregnant in the offseason and accused the Aces of being bullied throughout that process of coming back in her process of being traded. She had no problem with the trade, but she felt like the way that she was communicated to and the way that it went about was not correct. The WNBA, she complained to the WNBA, a formal complaint, and they found through 33 investigative interviews reviewing texts, emails, and overall conversations with these players, that there was fault to be had, and the resulting punishment was 2-game suspension for Becky Hammon and a 2025 first-round draft pick taken away. Now, it is interesting that Becky Hammon has since come out and said, I had nothing to do with the bullying. Dearica and I have a great relationship. So at this point, it's a he said, she said, obviously, or she said, she said. But obviously the WNBA found something. And for the WNBPA to come out and say, we have a punishment, but no one's happy, indicates that the W missed their mark, right? The new CBA focused on wanting to help player parents. That was a big theme within the new CBA. And this ruling, if you're saying a woman became pregnant and felt bullied as a result of that, that is not reflective of the ideals that the CBA tried to protect and what the WNBA tries to protect. So I really, it's disappointing to see that neither sides are really satisfied here. And it also is very disappointing to know that this is going to be looming over their heads while you've got a championship team that literally barely lost any players and added Candace Parker, right?
Yeah.
Should be a celebration. This should be so much fun. We should be celebrating their new facilities and just how elevated that whole experience has been for the W. And yet here we are starting the seasons with this kind of murky, cloudy, unfortunate situation around a really special team in the W.
Yeah, I mean, I just have like 2 points on this because I want to continue to talk about the other things, great things happening with the W right now. But I actually am turned off by like Becky Hammon's defiance in this situation. And I get it that it's your reputation, and the Aces put out that statement, which I think is ridiculous. There is a finding. There is a finding. So like, it's not really she said, because there's a finding, and so
you're right.
They found something credible. And like, when she's just like, to my knowledge, I don't think they spoke to this person and that person. It's just like, I conducted investigations for a living. You're not supposed to know, Becky. And you're not supposed to ask or inquire either. So I hope that didn't happen, but it's just like, this is a workplace investigation. And I actually thought the language was very soft because it's a little unclear. It's like workplace, respect rules. And it's like, this flowery kind of language, not to really call out essentially bullying or pregnancy discrimination by another woman of another woman. And that's a whole other conversation for another day. We don't want to like cloud the W being back today, but I'm not feeling her defiance right now. And then, I just want to say shout out to Dearica. Like, I just want to send her all the love and all the flowers. Like, she's coming back soon. And she says here, initially, it was about proving the Aces wrong. And I had to be like, nah, that's not okay. I need to do it for myself. And so I love that for her. But I'm just so looking forward to her return because this is a lot to go through and so much adjustments to make. And so I'm just wishing the best for her and sending her all the love.
Ditto. Everything you just said, copy that twice over. I know Dearica from my time at Wake Forest. I helped out their team while I was in grad school, and she is an amazing woman. And to go against a team and file a formal complaint, knowing what could potentially happen, it's a brave and courageous thing to do. So yes, kudos to her and sending her all the love and support as she goes to, come back. Now, the Sparks are trying to make a run in the West too. Yes. Okay, there's a lot of things, like you said, there's so much going on within the W that is really beneficial for getting this league the support it deserves, the visibility it deserves, the financial support it deserves. And I just feel like we're in this midst of what's going to happen to bring this W League to the level it deserves to be, to get, I think, the respect it needs. in order to be supported by the fans, because people forget the league is only a few, like 20 something years old. It's not the NBA, right? It's not 75 years. It's not the NFL 100 plus years. This is a pretty nascent league when you look at it in general. And so it's super exciting, all the changes that they made. So one thing to look at for this season, for example, the expansion of all the games. So even this weekend, every team in the W is going to play in this one weekend to start out. You've got 40 games that are going to be broadcasted across so many networks. So if you say you can't find a game, you're making excuses. That's it. You're making excuses. There's just so much I'm excited about. Another thing I am thinking that all of this kind of like bleeds into is people are caring that people are getting waived.
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen Twitter recently, but there have been a lot of announcements about rookies getting waived, about signature players, you could say, people that are not only really great players on the court, but also really great ambassadors for the league off the court, getting waived. There is a crazy statistic, or I think it was WNBA Hoops that mentioned it. There are 36 draft picks in a season, okay? 36 draft picks. Since 2012, all the way to 2023, only 4 years of those draft classes have kept more than 9 players out of that. 9 out of 36. Like, think about this. Look at this stat. 2023, 13 are still here. 2022, excuse me, 13 are still playing in the league. 2020, 2019, 2018. Out of everyone else, they're not on a roster. It's not that they're not starting. They're not on a roster.
Yeah.
And so what we're seeing is what we saw recently with Alexis Morris, just came out of LSU, just won a championship, cut. You saw Bria Beal, came out of South Carolina, has won championships, has an amazing following in the South Carolina Gamecocks fan base, cut. You see Dee Richardson, one of the faces of the league, one of the ones that are not only ignited the New York Liberty last year, but her Baylor story, literally almost being paralyzed to coming back within a season to play in the WNBA and play well, cut. So it's really exposing expansion. We either need more roster spots or we need a new team or new teams. And that is a whole nother debate because it requires conversations about investment and you know all the financial implications of launching new teams or added roster spots. But all I care about is that there is enough attention on the fact that there aren't enough spots, period.
Yes. Everything you said. And I love that there's so much focus on women's basketball. I love that there's so much attention right now being given to the W. And I do hate, especially that so many of the young players who just got drafted were cut because we just watched the draft and we were so excited.
Yes.
We were cheering for them. And it is right now an unfortunate, circumstance of the W, right? And so, that's why proponents of expansion are saying, look, this is why we need to expand. And we know there's an argument about whether it's the roster, like you said, or whether it's additional teams. But we know that some form of expansion is necessary. We know that. We know that it's necessary. And, but until then, just, remember to stay off Twitter with your thoughts. I know we get emotional and we get, reactionary, but Alexis Morris, just be careful because, the veterans are also still quality players and should still be playing. And not all of them. And, WNBA Twitter, we talk about this, like that person need to retire and give up their spot. But many of them should still be playing and they're fighting to hold on for their spot this as well. You know, we're all women, and so we don't need to like go against each other, but the W needs to fix this issue. So it's an unfortunate circumstance, but there's so many great names, and I think at some point we will be seeing them on a team. So until then, if you have to go overseas or do what you have to do, it is all love. Like, just continue to support and watch women's basketball. But I know we got company waiting, so I could talk the W all day with you. We're gonna continue to keep talking the W. So
for sure,
guys, stay with us.
Here comes our food. Finally, I'm starving. This isn't what we ordered. It is on the house, courtesy of Jimmy the Butler. I'm giving them to everyone. Who are you talking to? Take it back. But everyone is taking them. Not us. Now be gone. Shoo. You take this L. Hey, get back here. You take this L. That Jimmy Butler can cook.
That is so rude.
Nice.
I love that. But you know you like that, Siobhan.
What you say?
He deserves it.
I know you
like
that.
Oh, that's cute. We're just handing them out. Have one, please.
Listen, I think one of my favorite things about the Jimmy Butler experience right now is all of the nicknames. And some of them he's had, but like we always had Jimmy Buckets, but now it's like the legend of playoff Jimmy, and it's Himmy this, Himmy that. And then,
Himothy, that's right there.
Butler did this. Like, man, how do you have so many dope nicknames? That is just like one of my favorite things, but they are all deserving because this man is putting on a hell of a display, Siobhan. I mean, this is what you expect from him, isn't it?
It is, and I think so. Himmy, Himmy's been coming on a bit more. The legend of playoff Jimmy Butler might be still a little bit too much, the legend part, but playoff Jimmy, we've seen, genuinely be a thing since his time in Miami. We're in the Eastern Conference Finals for the third time in 4 years. He had that performance against LeBron and against the Lakers in the bubble. The following year, right? Us and LeBron and the Lakers and them, we had the shortest turnaround, the shortest offseason. And then so the following season didn't look too great. Last season, though, back in the Eastern Conference Finals, this season in the Eastern Conference Finals. And it's largely because of the way that man just elevates his level of play. He has such a reliable game and such a reliable skill set that enables him to really, really be effective and get to a lot of areas on the floor that a lot of people kind of shy away from in the today of things. And he's great body control. He's intelligent. He's great footwork in the post, great pivoting. He just has really, really all of the fun. He is so incredibly fundamentally sound. He came into the league not being an offensive talent, right? But being a defender and someone who had to pride himself on working hard and working within his body and being composed and all of that stuff. And so he's built himself this really, really reliable offensive bag. And towards the end of the season and in playoff mode, you really see him take himself to a different level and expect more of himself. And then therefore, those around him in Miami really, really rides with him. And we all kind of galvanize around the way that he elevates himself.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Just like how that the Miami Heat. I used to work for Miami Dolphins, so I do have an affinity to the Miami Heat in that way. But the Miami Heat have a camaraderie. I mean, you look at any of their media, interviews together, they're cracking it up, they're having a great time, etc. And because Himmy Buckets is, yes, he is a monster on the court, he's also kind of like a jokester off the court, right? Whether it's on his social media or him and Tyler Hero or, whatever, he's just always silly. And I always found it that no one ever, even though you said 3 times out of 4 years, Eastern Conference Finals, people aren't talking about the Miami Heat like powerhouse in the East, right? And it fascinates me that for years, it's just been quiet during the regular season. And it always is during the playoffs when Himmy Buckets rises up and does what he does, that's when it's like, oh, the buzz around the Heat. But I'm so fascinated by this whole underration of their team, despite how great they play together and how reliable Jimmy is. Where do you think that underrated approach from the media and fans comes from?
Underration is a great word, by the way.
Hey, underration is perfect. That's what it is. No underration and holleration. Okay. I think I like it. I think it's multi-pronged. Miami doesn't play a flamboyant or splashy style of basketball. They don't have people that you consider superstars. People will fight you tooth and nail, to argue with whether or not they believe Jimmy to be a superstar. And you can have those labels where, if you do or don't want them. But they don't have, just the raw offensive ability. They don't have freakish size. They're not athletic. They don't do anything that jumps off of the screen. They don't really break through the noise until it's time to be about winning. And then when it's really, really time to be about winning, you see them distinguish themselves from the field largely time and time again. But it is because the way that organization goes about doing things. You're right. Jimmy is goofy. He's funny, but I feel like you have to earn that out of Jimmy. He's someone to me who must know that he can trust you first, that we are here to do this thing of playing basketball, and I need to feel and appreciate and understand that you can go about it the right way. And then you can get Jokey Jimmy, you can get him and Max Strus. They flick each other off all the time, and it's all love. Like he just has, these ways about him, but at the very forefront of who he is, he's like psychotic about the work of winning, and it fits truly with what Miami is about and has been about. They get talked about for the Dwayne years, and even those years don't get talked about with the respect kind of that they should. And then it's, LeBron saved your franchise. No, it's not. We've been doing these things, kind of throughout the course of the history of the team. So I hope that they continue to get the respect that they deserve, and not on some, real big egoic, braggadocious type of way, but Miami really, really goes about the business of basketball in a professional, in a clean, in a, very reliable, studyable type of way.
They do, for sure. I mean, that's why you guys have the hashtag Heat culture, which I know you don't always lean into, but
oh, girl,
Heat culture is a real thing. But another kind of underrated, or underlying storyline about this team is all the undrafted players you guys have and how you're contributing. And I mean, just shout out to your development staff. Shout out to the people who go out, the scouts. There you go. Your scouting staff. Shout out to Coach Spo, who I think is the best coach in the NBA. No disrespect to Coach Pop. So, just incredible stuff over at the Heat.
Yeah, really, really well run internally, right? Coach Spo started in the video room. He started as their video coordinator and worked his way into the position that he is, to have the trust out of a Pat Riley that he has garnered and maintained throughout the LeBron years and kind of the lean years. The undrafted. When I was at Game 5 in Milwaukee, I asked Coach Spo, I said, how do you, Gabe Vincent is my guy. If y'all don't know, you can do your searches. I love Gabe Vincent, but there's Gabe, there's Caleb, there's Max. You have Haywood Heisman, you have all these guys. And so I was able to ask Coach Spo, what is it that in these moments now, these 3 and 4 year undrafted guys, you have this level of confidence and, kind of intentionality in going about things for them, drawing up sets for Gabe, drawing up sets for Caleb and Max. And he credited their development program. He said, Gabe has been with us now for 4 years. He started in the G League. Max started in the G League with us. Caleb is built up the right types of stuff. And so when you're able to keep good ingredients in-house, then you're able to, then go up and cook it and develop it the way that you want and have trust in guys who are unheralded and whose name might not be known.
Yes. I respect that a lot out of Coach Spo. Yeah, I just respect that a lot out of Coach Spo. And now you can say they were the underration. It's my new word. It's like the Mary J. Blige hateration. Yeah. But no, it really, they are underrated as players. And I think that even Coach Spo has been underrated as a coach. And I remember when he had first started and there was conversations that it was LeBron being the one behind the scenes coaching that team and making the play calls and having all the influence on those championship teams. And I'm just so happy that he's out. There's no question about it now. It is his ability and his team and his leadership that's really brought them to this place.
You know, truly,
I agree. I know. Oh, I'm sorry, Siobhan.
No, go ahead, Nat. I'm sorry.
No. Don't apologize. I know this is something for you. I saw you shaking your head. That's why, because we were talking about this the other day, like on Twitter, because I am someone who actually thinks Spo's always got the respect, but you don't think so, right?
I don't. And I think it's a little bit of what Zena said, right? Like when people underestimate what it takes to actually put together in a cohesive way, the talent, the egos, the cachet of player that Miami has been fortunate enough to have play for them. You can't just go throwing things together and expect them to work. We've seen Brooklyn, stockpile talent. We've seen Philly for a while collect talent. And just because you have a collection of talent doesn't mean that you're equipped with, making all of the things, do the things that you want them to do at the right time. And it's interesting because truly the truth of the matter is, LeBron definitely had say here, but he didn't have the pull or kind of the cachet or just like the weight that he has been able to kind of flex in Cleveland and in LA. But that is because Miami has been an established place before it was that he arrived here. You can't just come into Pat Riley's house and, kind of do what it is that you think that you're going to do. But I think that you saw LeBron be the better of it. The Miami reaped the rewards for going about their business in that way. So I agree. I'm happy that Spo is finally actually getting the recognition that he's getting as a play caller, as an in-game adjuster, as a motivator, as someone who instills even more of the right stuff in his guys.
For sure. Crazy thing about Spo, because I want to get one more question before we let you go, but that he's never won Coach of the Year. And that is actually a remarkable thing.
Seriously.
Not in a good way. But look, I just want to ask you about the Celtics, if you think is going to happen for game 2, because a lot of the narrative has been about like the Celtics playing with their food and it's like their own mistakes, but not about what the Heat have done. So what are your thoughts on that? And what do you think about game 2?
Again, it's never what the Heat have done. It's always what did the other team do to lose the game. I think I'm kind of expecting what happened a little bit in the Milwaukee series, right? We won game 1, and then Milwaukee kind of came out game 2 and just shot the lights out from like a really, really early standpoint. If that happened tonight, I would not be surprised at all. But I think you see now Coach Mazzulla now having to adjust to some of the adjustments that Coach Spoelstra made, right? In the first half of game 1, Robert Williams, they were getting incredible kind of just like rim pressure with him just being a lob threat. We adjusted to that. And so I just want to see what Coach Mazzulla has up his sleeves. I'm confident in what we have. I know the areas where we can adjust, and I know where I think that they might too as well.
Siobhan, thank you so much.
Always.
So good to see you.
Good to
Thanks,
talk to
Siobhan.
you. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Good talking to you.
Sorry about that, Siobhan. We just had to break for a commercial really quick. I probably shouldn't have asked you that question, so that's my bad. I did want to know that narrative. Was like, I know it's driving y'all crazy.
It's okay. It's so much. We'll talk
What
later.
happened?
I said, no, it's okay. It's so much.
Yeah, no. But I mean, at least you got to finish your thought. So I was happy about that.
Yeah.
So you think y'all got game 2, or you think the Celtics winning it?
Logically, I say they win, but I don't think that they do. I think we win game 2.
No. Oh, see,
I think we win game 2. I think they get one off of us.
2 on the road.
Miami.
Wow.
Game 1 was the one for the Celtics to win. If we take their best shot that I expect us to get in like the first quarter and a half, I think we have to. Could be wrong.
Wow.
Gary,
I don't know. I have to.
I'm sorry,
I
Gary,
have it
use
in
the
6.
tweet with the picture.
6, okay.
Okay, we're gonna go. We have to go, Siobhan, but
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm out too.
We'll talk. Okay, take care.
Bye.
That's time. not the way I expected to be ending the show today. The great Jim Brown has passed away, a legend. Rest in peace.
May he rest in peace and be received at the gates. Thanks, y'all, for joining.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.